Hello everybody, it is me, SPB. So, I swore to myself that I would get Misericorde Volume 1 done before the end of the year, so let's get to it. Very well. Her eyes narrowed, and she looked up at the shadowy abbey wall that loomed above the garden. What is it? Nothing. It was just a bird. Well, what now? Business as usual. In the morning, I think I will talk to James myself. Perhaps I can get something out of him you could not. Tonight, unfortunately, I have some work to go over with the Superior. And I imagine we will be forced to entertain the Bishop until he retires. He's not staying in the hospital, is he? That would be rather awkward, I imagine. I hadn't considered. Perhaps the Superior will provide a bedroll and send him to the Misericorde. Anyway, what will you do next? The others are throwing a sort of continuation of the feast tonight in the cellars. I was told it was meant to be a sort of wake for Catherine. Angela's lips pursed ever so slightly. I had no idea that this proposed gathering was such an offensive idea to her. It sounded like a good opportunity to speak to people candidly. Perhaps I will find a new clue. Indeed. Well, goodbye. And with that, she left. Her shoulder bumped into mine as she passed me, and her stride looked a little less confident than usual as I watched her turn the corner at the end of the hedgerow. I sighed. The sun was still setting. I had a good while yet before I needed to appear at this controversial party. I wandered back the way we had come, past the chapel. The more I wandered around the abbey, the stranger I found the pile of debris lumped unceremoniously next to the building. The chapel itself appeared sturdy enough, so I was at a loss as to what all this loose stone was for. I gasped as I realized there was something moving atop the rubble, black fabric draped over the broken rocks. I froze in place. Was this Eustace breaking her promise to me yet again? Or was I the first person in history to catch a ghost off guard? I squinted through the dusk, trying to decide whether or not to bolt. It turned around to face me, and I tensed. Only... Oh, hello, Hedwig. Oh, it's you! Oh, you gave me quite a fright up there. I think I already said that we need to stop meeting like this, didn't I? We really do need to. It's no trouble. I'm just naturally jumpy, it turns out. I suppose that wouldn't be a problem in a cell. There was only one way people can come at you in there. Indeed. What are you doing up on a pile of rocks? Oh, just taking in the sunset. Sister Margaret. Even I won't buy that one. It was worth trying. Well, I need to get into the chapel. There used to be a way in through here, but when the clock tower collapsed, it blocked the passage. Have you tried the front door? The soup locked it for whatever reason. And the back door as well. Clever clogs. Oh, well, that's a shame. I suppose you could just pray out here instead? Or anywhere? I don't need to pray. I need to... well... She ceased peering at the wall of the chapel, where I presume the rubble had filled in whatever entrance she was hoping to find. Can you keep a secret? Apparently. It's not anything bad, is it? No. Well, not really. Only a little, at worst. Oh. So? Can you? I sighed. What was one more on the pile? Yes, of course. Well, as I am sure you noticed, the Superior's organ sounded a little off tonight. Did it? She shot me a withering look. Anyway, that might have been my fault. A little bit. It was a little bit Catherine's fault as well, but she's busy. I need to get in there and fix the problem. What do you mean it's your fault? Sister Margaret! I remember the first conversation Margaret and I ever had with Catherine. I thought that was just a joke! A cruel joke, but idle chatter nonetheless. It should have stayed that way, but I fear we might have taken things a touch too far. She looked a bit upset tonight, didn't she? As well she should. You'll get no argument from me. Anyway, that's why I'm up here. I'm trying to find a way in... Why not just come clean? Where's the fun in that? Besides, I would rather not be stuck on privy cleaning duty for the rest of the year. Well then, why not just do it tomorrow before service, or after? That might have to be the plan, I'm afraid. But there's a good chance she'll try and play it again, and I doubt she'll maintain her composure another time. I thought hard about a way to help. I did not approve of Margaret's mischief, but I was at the very least pleased to see some empathy and effort to correct her mistake. Now, what about the bells? I don't follow. Someone is going to ring the bell before liturgy tomorrow, surely? Whoever did it would have to unlock the door. Couldn't you get in that way? Margaret hopped down from the pile of rocks and grabbed me by the shoulders. Hedwig, you're a genius! Someone is going to ring the bell tomorrow morning. It's going to be me. Oh, well, there you go. No, I mean, I can make that happen. I'm sure whoever got assigned bell duty this week will jump at the chance to sleep in after tonight's little party. I'll just go tell the soup that I volunteer right now. She patted my arm and began to jog away. See you in the cellars! Well, wait! What is a clock tower? It's a cult horror series from Japan, but that's not really relevant right now. Oh, right. Well, a clock is a bit like, imagine if you didn't have to ring the bells at morning, noon, and dinner yourself. It's a big machine that does all that for you. Like the animal statues by King Solomon's throne. I had no idea we had such wonders here. Margaret looked oddly stern. Yes, I suppose it is a bit like that. It just seems a bit extravagant. The soup was very excited about the project, but between you and me, there were a few of us who thought it was a waste of money. But she had secured a good deal on the work and wanted it built quickly. Normally, these things are reserved for big cathedrals in cities. But you look at it now and... well, it looks like we got what we paid for in the end. I had heard the Superior thought it was a bad idea. I'm sure she says that now. So, why hasn't anyone moved all these stones? Have you tried lifting one? A fair point. I'm surprised you'd never come across a clock before. They're expensive, but they're not exactly new. Isn't there one in Comedia? What's Comedia? Whoa. You haven't read Dante? Now that surprises me. Now it was my turn to be uncharacteristically stern. I have not read anything that isn't biblical canon, errata, or scholarly commentary. Listen, I really must run and catch the soup. But we'll try and catch up about this at the party, yeah? I think you'd probably like it. I'll look forward to it. Yeah, people forget that. Like, Dante's Inferno and all of that, like, that was basically Dante's fan fiction about hanging out with, you know, certain poets that he liked and, you know, denigrating certain politicians that he didn't like. Like, none of that is biblical canon, and yet people just kind of accept it as it is. Like, Circles of Hell, that is not in the Bible. That is all Dante. Margaret grinned and then jogged off toward the Superior's office. I sighed and continued at my own pace down the path toward the cloister, where I could see the torches being lit. I headed up the stairs to the dormitory. I reasoned that if I really was going to burn the midnight oil with everyone in the cellars later, I might as well get some rest. However, the dorms were livelier than I had ever seen them. Everyone's doors were wide open, and I could see several sisters milling about. One was on her knees, scrubbing. I froze in the doorway. The ink. Oh my god, this stuff is resilient. You should take up stone carving, Moira. It's just as permanent and a lot less messy. It wasn't my fault. It was like this when I got here. Oh, hello, Hedwig. I stepped forward nervously, ready to be chastised. I could probably mix up something that would help. The last stain remover I remember you mixing up for me burned a hole straight through my robes. I appreciate the offer, Darcy, but I think I've got as much of it up as I'm going to. I'm sorry, Moira. Whatever for? I must have knocked it over when I was getting fresh clothes from your dorm. I really was a nasty little rat. Miraculously, Moira chuckled. Oh, there's no need to blame yourself. I think you would have noticed knocking a whole bottle of ink over, silly. I almost objected, but then the small crowd around Eustace parted enough for me to see who the culprit everyone had agreed upon was. We really need locks if Catherine's going to have a cat running around. It's not my cat. Why does everyone think it's my cat? Eustace ignored her. This was a disaster just waiting to happen. I keep all my bottles under the bed so nothing gets knocked over. Eustace stood up, groaning a little as she bent her knees. I'd keep your shoes on out here for a while. I think I got all the broken glass, but you never know. Oh, thanks so much for the help, Eustace. I did my best inside my room, but the paw prints... Eustace nodded and put the brush she had been using to scour the floor back into a wooden bucket at her side. The paw prints were Not gone, but they were at least faded. Oh, Hedwig. You should tell Darcy about your vision. Her what? That. Do tell. Perhaps it would be best if you took Hedwig into your dorm to chat about it a little more privately. Oh, right. I'm sorry, Hedwig. No, it's quite all right. Really, I had no reason to be upset. I had made no demands for secrecy, and under normal circumstances, I'm sure I'd be thrilled. Perhaps even a little proud, were I to be brutally honest with myself, to have it be known that I had seen a vision. But this day had been such a violent emotional journey that I couldn't help but feel annoyed. Darcy, on the other hand, looked positively elated. Or... doesn't she normally look like that? Well, anyway. Yes, come with me. She beckoned me inside her room as the rest of the group dispersed. She shut the door behind her and gestured for me to sit on the bed. It was hard to find a spot that wasn't covered in books, bags, tools, and containers. I like your Bionicle collection, Darcy. Oh, thank you. This is exciting. Have you ever had a vision before? Never in my life. What happened? Well, it's rather unpleasant, to tell you the truth. Oh, they often are. I've seen a lot of gruesome things in mine. According to Eustace, anyway. What sort of gruesome things? Heads chopped off. Stuff on fire. Men with too many eyes. The list goes on. How frightening! I think it is worth it for the ones that are less scary. And really, the scary ones are important too, I think. They are a rich tapestry. I think that's a very good way to look at it. So what did you see? No holding back. Start with before the vision, actually. What were you feeling? She had produced a quill and paper from her little reading desk. Well, I was rather upset. I'd had a horrible time in the village, truth be told. Oh, sorry to hear it. And I sat down in the town square. I told her everything in much more detail than I'd given Eustace and Moira on the ride back up to the Abbey. It was easy to be forthcoming around Darcy compared to almost everyone else here. Wow. Exciting. Is it now? Oh, incredibly. What could it mean? No idea. Oh. Is something wrong? No, just... I was hoping you might be able to help sort it all out. I would be happy to help, but I can't give you the answer. I don't understand it. I wouldn't know where to begin understanding it. Well, it is probably about God. I suppose that much I had gathered, I think. See, you did know where to begin after all. What do these things say to you? I don't know. You must know. Otherwise, you would not have seen them. What if it's an omen? I wouldn't know then. If God is trying to tell me something, surely it would be something I needed to know and didn't. Darcy shook her head. It was odd seeing her look so authoritative. Even in the garden, she never commanded this sort of presence. God would never show you anything you did not already have the capacity to understand. God may not speak in words, but he understands language. How else would he communicate with us now, and the Israelites then? The Jews and the Romans? How would he reach the heathens in the east? Or the bloody French? God showed Hildegard a shape of light and let her conclude it was a map of the cosmos. He even sent Moses a burning bush before he spoke plainly. And he sent me a vomiting dog? Perhaps he has yet to speak plainly to you. Or perhaps he already is. She emphasized this point with a dramatic gesticulation. I wasn't sure whether to be amused or frustrated. Do you understand any of the visions you've seen? Not entirely. If only Catherine were here. She understood hers very quickly. With my help, of course. Which gives me the utmost confidence that I can help you. We can translate what God is saying to you. I would appreciate that. I am yours. However, I must think on it. Of course. There really is no great rush. She scrunched up her face and started stroking her chin, and I realized she meant to start thinking right away. Love her face right there. She's like, hold on, I'm gonna think. I'm gonna think really hard. Give it a big ol' think. I stood up and bowed my head. My thanks, Darcy. She nodded gently. I left to retire to my own room. The crowd that had surrounded the Inks village had dispersed. Only Moira remained, leaning against her door looking more exhausted than I'd ever seen her. Any luck? We're going to keep at it. Good, good. She looked pensive and preoccupied. I'm sorry. Oh, it's no great loss. I can always ask the Superior to send away for more. I just worry that damned cat is going to cause more trouble elsewhere. I'm sure we have some spare ink in the library. Oh, I might take you up on that. Although, you might have to ask Eustace. I know she can be a bit particular about supplies and so on. It can't hurt to ask. No, it can't, can it? You're right. Sorry to be on so much of a downer. She fixed her gaze on the faint paw prints on the floor again. Eustace had clearly done her best to scour the stone, but there was still a visible trail leading out of the dorms to the landing. Is it really so much of a nuisance? Well, it sounds silly, but I don't trust it. I'm old-fashioned, I suppose. She sighed heavily. It was very cute once upon a time, but once it grew up... I had no idea it'd been a problem for that long. We don't get the usual vermin up here in the hills. It's far too cold. Whoever brought it here just wanted a pet, I think. Another of this abbey's great mysteries. What are some of the others? I caught myself too late to keep this rather stupid inquiry to myself. I'm convinced my habit of answering every statement with a question will be the death of me. Luckily, Moira didn't find this question odd. Oh, where to start? Who paid for it? Who still pays for it? Is it haunted? Yes. Darcy had emerged from her room without either of us noticing. Do you really think so, Darcy? I know so. I've thought a lot about it recently, and I finally know for certain. This place is very haunted. Brr, I hope not. Darcy shuffled past us, leaving Moira looking a little worried. I wanted to say something comforting to Moira, but the evil sigil carved into the walls loomed in the back of my mind. It was becoming harder to disagree with Darcy's assessment. I was curious what had prompted her escalation from a little to very haunted, and thought about following her to ask. But Moira kept talking. That night on the landing when you said you saw a ghost. I know Eustace claimed credit, but the more I hear from the others, and the more I see myself, sometimes I wonder. If it's any comfort, I don't know what to believe about it either. What was it like? Terrifying. And then when everybody assumed it was a practical joke, I felt very small. I would too. I must apologize for throwing my lot in with them. It's no trouble. I can scarcely believe it myself. It goes against everything I know, everything I hold true. How could I judge anyone for dismissing my account? Well, you are too forgiving. You did not see it. You have nothing to apologize for. Well, that's not true, actually. What do you mean? Well, remember in the village, when I whispered to Eustace... I was telling her that we had to stall so we wouldn't get back to the Abbey too early. Yeah. When I was doing the edit, I put it together. That's had to be what she was talking to Eustace about. Since everyone was getting ready for the feast, which meant to be a surprise. Well, it was a lovely surprise. So how could I be upset? Moira smiled. Her eyes were a little damp. I felt horrid for keeping you there against your will. I felt horrid being there, but... I think in the end, this day ended up being rather good. Really? Well, that's a relief. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve and then stood up straight. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. We've got a wake to attend, remember? Right. I think I'm going to lie down for a little while to recuperate. You should. It's been a long day and it's going to be a long night. Of course. She smiled at me and then stretched her arms above her head, letting out a huge yawn. I think I might do the same. Knock on my door if you get up before I do, won't you? Of course. We went into our separate rooms. I think I fell asleep the moment my eyes shut. I awoke with a start. That damn knocking in the walls was back. I looked out the window to see the moon was high in the sky. Like a big pizza pie. At the very least, I could thank the creaky old building for waking me up at the right time for this party. I groaned and rolled out of bed. Ugh, socialization! Again! I really should have stripped down before sleeping. I felt too warm and a bit pasty, despite the cool night breeze coming through my window. I adjusted my clothes as best I could. On my way out, I nearly tripped over Medea, which I picked up and put on my writing desk next to the desiccated copy of Matthew. I was getting a little tired of having books of odd import lying around my dorm room, let me tell you. Hello, Hedwig. Hello, Catherine. Margaret. We should go. Yes, we should. They looked oddly serious. Moira emerged from her dorm room as well. She looked rejuvenated since I last saw her. The nap had done her some good. Hello, shall we? I suppose we must. Moira looked surprised by Catherine's maudlin tone. We traveled to the cellars together in silence. The Abbey looked quite mysterious at this time of night. The pale blue light of the moon was competing with the flickering orange torchlights. As we approached the cellar, I realized just how close we were to the Superior's office. Is this really wise? Surely the noise will carry. I doubt it. We'll be deep in the cellars, and these walls are thick. Not to mention that bloody great door of hers. I doubt she'd mind. It's all for Catherine, after all. Of course. Only a few torches down in the cellars had been lit. I could already hear music echoing through the cool underground walls. It was altogether rather eerie. Anyway, here's Wonderwall! A sort of fortress of casks had been erected around what appeared to be the designated celebration area. A few of the barrels had been arranged like little tables carrying wineskins and cups. Adela had one of these makeshift tables to herself and was playing some sort of card game with Sister Charity. Whatever the game was, it finished as we approached. Adela flipped a card over, causing Charity to erupt into giggles. Hello, everyone. Would any of you care to see the future? No thanks. Catherine and Margaret made non-committal grunts and left me alone with Adela, who was already shuffling the cards. You should. It's not half bad. I was already planning to leave early, and I got what was it you said, Adela, dear? Your present card was the Three of Cups, inverted. In that position, it can refer to a lack of time to socialize. Dead on, isn't it? Anyway, I can't stay. These old bones won't survive staying up too late. I just wanted to raise a glass in poor Catherine's name, at least. She really was quite drunk already. You should stick around for just a short while longer. I believe we are giving a toast to Catherine in just a few minutes. Oh, you've talked me into it. Yeah, that's how I should have been voicing her up until now. She toddled off. Well, would you like a glimpse of the future, Sister Hedwig? I'm not sure I like the look of this. Is this some kind of Iberian custom we shouldn't play around with? Adela frowned as she continued shuffling her deck of cards. This is an Italian pastime. My mother enjoyed, Sister Hedwig. Oh. I felt rather embarrassed. I kept doing this sort of thing. I decided that agreeing to participate would be the best mea culpa I could offer, despite the misgivings I had with the activity. Go on, then. She rapped the cards against the table sharply. I will turn over 3 cards. The first card will represent your past. The second will describe your present. And the third card will give you a hint of your future. Are you ready? This was silly. Yes, let's try it. The Seven of Cups. It represents illusions, imagination, creativity. But as you can see, it is inverted. From where I am standing, I suppose this is about your perspective, so yes, it is inverted. This card represents your past. You were in your cell for a long time, were you not? You spent a lot of time with nobody but yourself. Nothing but your own imagination. Clinging to this past will not help you. Your second card, the present. I've revealed the world. Once again, it is inverted. In this reverse position, the world represents your inner torment. You are secluded. You are lonely. You are withdrawn. Oh, now you're just being mean. Because something has been troubling you, yes? Yes. Something you need to get to the bottom of. Something that has been preoccupying you ever since you left your cell. Am I correct? Yes. Of course I am. You were alone in your cell for many years, and now you have been set adrift. That conflict has been eating away at you and driving you further inward. The world in reverse, believe it or not, could be a good sign, Sister Hedwig. It represents your current state. You may yet find the answer to your questions within yourself. Choose a final card and we shall see. I pointed at the topmost card on the pile. I did not particularly care for this game, and I wanted it to be over as soon as possible. Oh, the Queen of Swords. Reversed. All of your cards have been reversals, Sister Hedwig. That is interesting. Is it dangerous? No. It just means that you face many challenges. Lovely. A reverse Queen of Swords in this position means you will continue to have a hard time moving forward into the future. You must make some decisions, Sister Hedwig. This Queen in reverse suggests to me that you must find some strength inside yourself to move beyond your current predicament. Perhaps there is something small you can think of and change. I will have to think on it. I desperately wanted to leave the table, but Adela was shuffling the card pile again. Let us ask the cards a question. Think hard, Sister Hedwig. What would you ask the cards? You do not need to speak it aloud. Ask the question yourself, and then pick a card. I hated this game, but I didn't want to upset Adela. I'd already seen a real vision today. I reasoned that I had the strength to endure this silly little pagan ritual for one more round. If I could not be flippant openly, I decided I would ask these cards something disdainful, if only in my own mind. Is this real? That's what I landed on. I gestured to the bottommost card in the pile that I could see peeking out from beneath the others. Let us see. The High Priestess. That is interesting. What does it mean? Well, to be honest, I think this card is imbued with such mystery that your answer is unclear. I did not like this answer at all. I stared at the card, deep in thought. It felt oddly similar to looking at my reflection in the bath. Isn't it funny how every card is imbued with enough mystery to mean whatever you like? I jumped. I hadn't noticed Eustace looming. The cards have malleable meanings, it is true. That makes them better at their intended purpose, not worse. Oh, I don't disagree with you there. Adela shot Eustace a nasty sneer. I was relieved that someone else was the target of her ire now, at least. Do you not have any sense of wonder? No love of mystery? The church holds plenty of mystery for me. Isn't that right, Hedwig? It is a wide world, and I believe we must be flexible if we wish to spread the faith around it. I opened my mouth to refute this, but I caught myself before saying anything. There was no need to draw Adela's attention back to me. I may have found this talk blasphemous, but at the end of the day, I was a bigger coward than I was a devout Catholic. Another thing I was coming to loathe about myself. Oh, we'll leave you to it. Hedwig hasn't even gotten a drink yet, isn't that right? Come on, Hedwig, we're getting crunk up in this bitch. Yes. Goodbye, then. She busied herself with her cards. Eustace tugged my sleeve and pulled me away from the table, although I did not need much convincing. She can get a bit funny about her hobbies. I'm surprised she is allowed to bring fortune-telling here. Those cards are blasphemous, surely. I'm not sure Adela thinks that hard about these things beyond the aesthetics. I would call her an easily distracted traditionalist. She led us to a free table near the edge of the makeshift room with thus far untouched cups, and then began pouring 2 drinks. You've had a long day. Indeed I have. How are you feeling? She nudged a full cup in my direction, which I took with a quickness that surprised even myself. Tired, but also very, very awake. Like I could sleep forever, or never again. Darcy was the same way when she started having visions. So you believe me now? I said I believe that you believed you had a vision. Ultimately, what I think does not matter. She drummed her fingers on top of the barrel cum table. She stared off into the distance, deep in thought. I want you to know that I am looking out for you. Do you understand that? In what sense? I can't say. But I promise it isn't out of disrespect. I am not being condescending. She was being very condescending. You being at a wake for Catherine, it feels strange, uncomfortable. And I felt similarly about you working in the library as well. I keep glancing up from my work expecting to see her shifting across from me, writing God knows what. But instead I see you. And that isn't your fault, to be clear. But it stings every time. I can only apologize. I'm no replacement for her. I was never trying to be. I was very angry when I first heard that you had volunteered for her old position. What a climber, I thought. You regretted taking such extreme bows and jumped on a rare opportunity to leave. I know several other sisters think the same way. I don't think that anymore, just so that you know. What changed your mind? You are fucking miserable. This wasn't something you wanted, was it? She peered at me through her thick glasses. I knew that there was no way I could lie. She was clearly comfortable in her deduction already. No. The Superior put you up to something, didn't she? Yes. I wish she hadn't. I sometimes feel the same. She wanted some objective eyes and ears, I take it? She's not satisfied with the conclusion that that man killed her? Yes, that's it, exactly. Of all her idle interests, this is easily the most annoying. She poured herself another drink. What could convince you to just give it up? That's why I tried to scare you, you know. But you're braver than I thought. Nothing. Oh, please. There must be something. No, there isn't. I don't think it was James either. How could you possibly have an opinion on this? You never met either of them. Well, that's not true. Catherine came to my hagioscope several times. Yes, to talk about what? Plays? You didn't know Catherine. Not the way I did. Nor anything close to the myriad connections she had with everyone else here. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you picture her? Companionship. Someone who I could talk to about scripture on a level no one else ever has. Oh yeah, she was very good at leveraging people's interests. I know she left a few sisters hurt when she moved on from certain interests. Are you one of them? No. But that is certainly an opinion several people here may have. So you admit I have some knowledge of the situation. Why is it then that you want me to ignore all of this so badly? Eustace looked around to make sure nobody was within earshot and then leaned across the barrel to speak in a harsh whisper. Poking around for perceived conspiracies is what got her killed. And I don't want the same to happen to you. You or anybody else. What do you mean? So you don't think James killed her? I didn't say that. Then... Eustace leaned away suddenly. I intuited that she had seen someone approaching out of the corner of her eye and bit my tongue. Hello. Is this wineskin still full? Eustace began pouring wine for the two of them. They took their cups and settled in with us. The conversation with Eustace, it seemed, was over for good. Has Adela read everyone's fortunes yet? She told me I had a lot of anger in my past. Too right. Did you know that the death card doesn't always mean something bad? I nearly screamed when she showed me that one. I'm not sure the cards actually mean anything. Well, they can mean everything, which is just as unhelpful. Still, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? As long as we don't take it too seriously. Margaret chugged the rest of her drink down and slammed the cup on the table. Right. I suppose I should get back to the loot. She left the table, and Eustace scooted around to better talk to both Moira and I. What's got Catherine in such a bad mood, do you think? She gestured toward the tall woman, who was leaning against a barrel all by herself, looking positively ashen. Huh. That's not like her. Not at all. Do you think we should ask her? Maybe later. Not now. I'd rather wait until she got less wine in her. I made eye contact with Catherine by accident while the others were talking. She sighed deeply, then looked away to pour herself another cup. Well, that's really not like her. I had in fact seen Catherine in a similar state in the Misericorde not very long ago, when she had been staring into the fire and lamenting her lot in life. She had alluded to her old home life then. Now that I knew the rumors surrounding her exit from the village, I had a sinking feeling about what was bothering her. You don't think she really did what they say, do you? Kill her husband? Moira and I both coughed into our drinks. No, I don't think she did. No, nor me. She's a bit odd, but I don't think she's that kind of odd. Look who's talking. Flora had arrived without anyone noticing and looked ready to pick a fight for some reason. Eustace turned around to address her curtly. I never said I wasn't odd, but I think we can all agree Catherine and I are different kinds of odd. Never mind. Wine me. Wine, wine, wine. That's what you sound like, Flora. Moira obliged immediately, lifting up the wineskin to pour a mug for the impatient young woman. Go easy on the stuff this time. You're not my mother. Oh, thank God for that. Flora stuck her tongue out at Eustace and left, presumably to go bother somebody else. Christ. I know it's normal for young nuns to act out, but she's been acting out for a long time now. I bristled at the curse, but the insinuation that Eustace found Flora's behavior somehow beneath her bothered me more. I opened my mouth to say something about it, but Moira got there first. It's probably for the best. She was always more tactful than me. You like to act out too, Eustace, just in more elaborate ways, I suppose. My pranks have always been elaborate and thought-provoking. What thought was dressing up as a ghost meant to provoke? Ah, a ghost! We all laughed. Even Eustace. I wish I knew how to do that sort of thing. If I'd been left to my own devices, I would have likely started another argument with Eustace. Woman to woman, Eustace and I had a relationship that seemed liable to fall apart at a moment's notice. With Moira around, I felt part of an inseparable trio. Eustace glanced across the room at Margaret, who was fiddling with her lute while standing on top of a crate. Catherine had wandered over to the makeshift stage as well, and still looked a bit dour. Her and Margaret exchanged a few words. Neither of them looked thrilled, honestly. Finally, Margaret shrugged. Catherine sighed, then appeared to pull herself together somewhat miraculously. Margaret strummed a chord and spoke loudly to everyone gathered in the cellar. Hello, Linbo Abbey, are you ready to rock? Everyone. I know we have some very important drinking to get to, but there's someone who won't be joining us tonight who we need to pay tribute to. A murmur of approval echoed around the room. Someone who can't join us ever again. It has been several weeks since we lost our dear sister, Catherine II. I am sure she'd be delighted to see all of you here. Annoyed, perhaps, at a few of you, but that's nothing a few drinks couldn't fix, I'm sure of it. Everyone chuckled, but I was left confused. What sort of morning was this? We will never have a sister like her. I dare say there isn't a convent in the country who will. In the world, most likely. I miss having the competition. Her and I had unparalleled beauty, wit, and grace. I came out on top, of course, but it was very close. More laughter. But she handily bested me at other things. Her boundless love for others. Her endless interest in all manner of scholarship. Her frankly rabid hatred of Italians. Everyone found this one particularly hilarious, but I was more lost than ever. And the Spanish, or was it the Portuguese? I can't remember. She certainly got her licks in on the English as well, which... She raised her mug into the air and the crowd followed suit. Fair play. Fair play to all of it, I suppose. Where else but England would Catherine II get stuck with a convent full of Spaniards and Italians? She was Irish, of course. Moira put her hands together in front of her mouth and let out an approving howl so loud I flinched. Everyone else found this very amusing. She liked to remind us that whenever she could. I once asked her, why not go back to Ireland then, when I was particularly irritated with some of her good-natured ribbing. And I swear this is true, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, my dearest Catherine, ignoring the fact that I must remain here as a nun, I would never consider Lynbarrow anything less than my home. How very trite, I thought. I still do most of the time. Lynbarrow rarely feels like a home to me. The hallways are drafty. What little work there is to do is tedious, and the tedium only increases when there is no work left to do. It rains all the time, and it's freezing cold even when the sun is shining. That all being said, I realized something recently. I may grouse about this place, and I'm certainly not going to stop. But Lynbarrow certainly feels like less of something without Catherine II around. And I think perhaps, if she considered it a home, I could too. So maybe it is a home, for better or worse. I miss her, and I think I would miss all of you just the same were any of you to leave. Most of you. The crowd laughed again. Catherine raised her mug and began pointing at people in front of her. Charity! What will you miss most about Catherine II? I'll miss chatting with her about the past. Nobody else here wants to hear it. Too bloody right. Marta? I'll miss her assistance in the cellars. Flora? I'll miss having a real friend. Adela? I will miss having a sparring partner. Hold on to that one. I doubt you'll ever duel someone again. You two were complete mad women. Eustace? I will miss our conversations in the library. Someone Eustace enjoyed talking to. What a rare person she was. I think we only have one other here like that. Darcy? Sorry, what was the question? That's my girl. What are you going to miss most about Catherine II? Oh, I will miss having someone to discuss ghosts and spirit with. Steady on. Moira? I'll miss her accent. I really should have been giving Catherine the accent the entire time. She was choking back tears. Everyone chuckled sympathetically at her silly answer. It was a little taste of home, I'm sure. Hedwig? Only joking. Margaret? I could have shrunk into a mote of dust. I will miss playing music with her. And we'll all miss hearing it. Speaking of, Margaret, you did say Catherine wouldn't be joining us tonight. But perhaps if we drink hard enough and sing loud enough, she'll join us. Am I right? Come now, if I can't hear you, she certainly won't. Am I right? Everyone began stomping and clapping. Some people were banging on barrels to make extra noise. It was so raucous that I was worried the Superior might descend the stairs to chastise us all, but nobody else seemed to mind. The evening descended into chaos from there. I had no idea what I was meant to do. Once Catherine's little speech was concluded, there didn't seem to be much else in the way of eulogizing at this wake. The sisters were all drinking, laughing, playing chess, and reading fortunes from that demonic deck of cards. Frankly, I felt sick. I stood at the edge of the cellar next to one of the barrels, holding a mug that I took the smallest sip from every now and then. I felt even more out of place here than I had in the Misericorde. I was confounded by the realization that that place, which was designated specifically for rule breaking, had felt less debauched than what I saw before me. Margaret played her lute for what seemed like hours, taking breaks only to swig whatever drink Catherine handed to her. Catherine herself seemed to be in a better mood than earlier, although she might simply have been too drunk to feel anything. Even Moira was acting far more depraved than I was used to seeing. She was dancing like mad, bumping into people and cheering and banging on barrels to create a makeshift percussion section for Margaret. Adela made her way over to me, smiling. "What are you doing all the way over here?" "Oh, I'm just tired, that's all. Come and join in." "I'd rather not. I'm happy here. And do you feel out of place?" "I just didn't know Catherine that well." "You're not here because of how well you knew Catherine. You're here because everybody likes you." What rubbish. I didn't know what to say to her, so I took a sip of my drink in a feeble attempt to hide. "You need to trust what the card said. Allow yourself to discover where you belong." I nodded in a non-committal way. Mercifully, this seemed to satisfy Adela, who danced off back towards the rest of the group. I could hear wood scraping against stone. Moira had pushed a crate next to Margaret and was clambering atop it clumsily. "Everyone!" She wobbled, nearly lost her balance until Margaret caught her. "Thank you. Everyone, I think it's time we properly welcome our new chronicler." She pointed at me drunkenly and I froze. Everyone turned and raised their mugs to me. "Catherine could never be replaced." "But Hedwig is a lovely new presence here, don't you all think?" I was practically begging to be struck down by a lightning bolt. Anything to end this embarrassment. The feast had been bad enough, but seeing the sisters truly uninhibited, smiling at me, seemingly entirely earnestly as they toasted me, it made my blood boil. I don't really know why, it just felt wrong. But looking at all these drunken, drooping faces gawping at me, I wasn't sure I wanted their approval. 3 cheers for Hedwig! Hop, hop! Hop, hop! Hop! I was rescued by an ugly sound. Flora had wandered over to one of the casks and attempted to open it, only to break the bung completely. "Flora! What are you doing?" "The skin was empty. It was gonna get more and it just broke." Adela and Marta stormed over to the barrel to attempt to help. Flora was covered in red wine. Her wimple was undoubtedly ruined. "Oh, you really are a piece of work, girl." "That is not even the wine we are drinking." "I bloody hope not. It smells awful." "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything. It broke on its own, more or less." "You ripped the whole faucet out. How did you manage that?" "I barely touched it." "You're a bad worker and a worse liar. Get out of my way." "Whatever." This was Sister Catherine's first batch of sherry, wasn't it? Of all the casts to break. Well, this one is gone for good. Marta yanked Flora toward her by the scruff of her neck and smacked her face with raw power I wouldn't have expected from her. "What do you have to say for yourself?" "Well, ow, first of all." Marta raised her hand again, but everybody rushed forward. "Oh, that's enough, Marta. It was an accident." Marta let go of Flora and walked away to join Charity on the other side of the room. The cask was still gushing wine onto the floor. Everyone started inching backward to give the dark liquid a wider berth. Moira tried to pull Flora aside to comfort her, but the younger nun sprinted past her towards the cellar stairs. "What should we do?" "There is not much we can do now. It will soak into the stone. Some got onto the cask beneath it, too. Those are probably ruined now as well. Just from having something poured on it? This is a delicate business." What was it that you said about it soaking into the stone?" "It will, believe it or not. Although a mop would not go amiss." "No. Let it." "What? What are you talking about? This is Catherine's sherry, right? The wine she worked on when she tried her hand at winemaking. We should let the Abbey have it." "You mean Catherine made this? If there's a piece of her soul or spirit or essence, I don't know, then the Abbey should drink it. All of it. She could be part of the Abbey forever. Not just stuck in some barrels." "Eustace, that's a beautiful idea. I've never known you to speak with such poetry." "I have my moments. I agree. What a beautiful way to honor her memory." "It certainly is unique. Befitting, I suppose. When you say all of it, Sister Eustace, all of it. Anything Catherine made." The mood had soured somewhat when Flora had broken the cask, but a new buzz of activity was starting. "Should we just pop the rest open?" Let's smash them. That is more like it. A cheer went up around the room. Should I go get an axe from the workshop? Good idea. No, I have a better idea. Eustace. Why not use Catherine's sword? Ooh, isn't that dangerous? Absolutely. No more or less than an axe. What about spears? I would really prefer the axe, I think. Spears are more effective than both. I'll get Catherine's sword if it'll spare us a lecture on troop tactics. Everyone except Catherine whooped and clapped. Is it not rather ghoulish? She was killed with it. The mood soured instantly. Oh. You know, I think that is exactly why we should use it. Should her sword's last act be so grisly, we have a chance to wield it to celebrate her. I resisted the urge to point out that the sword's most recent acts were to slaughter a goat and scare me silly. That actually makes some sense to me. I agree. It's fitting. I'll go and get it. Back in a moment. Catherine's mood had turned again. Nearly everyone else seemed convinced of this ridiculous idea. However, I think we'll be getting on. It was a lovely night, but I'm too old for all of this. We need our beauty sleep, don't we, Marta? A waste of good wine. I'm sure we don't actually need to do this. Do what you like. Good night, everyone. They left. Margaret was huddled in conversation with Catherine again. They both looked quite serious, but Margaret was strumming a tune idly to cover whatever they were conversing about. Finally, Eustace emerged from the shadows once more. She carried that terrible blade with her. When the nuns invested in her cask-breaking plan and started cheering, she held it aloft. Even Catherine joined in. Her dark mood had once again evaporated. She had turned back into the Catherine I was used to see. Right. Who wants to go first? Let me take a swing. It should be Hedwig. Of course, that is a much better idea. Very fitting. Oh, no, I couldn't. Go on, Hedwig. Eustace approached me and held the sword out as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The pommel toward me, the blade resting at her side, balanced flat on her palm. Now, be very careful. Grasp it firmly with both hands. Everyone was looking at me expectantly. I don't know. Hedwig! 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 Everyone began chanting in unison, even Eustace. There was nothing else for it. I took the sword in my hands and everyone cheered. How does it feel? It's much lighter than it looks. I saw my reflection in the blade. It was an odd sensation. I suddenly felt very powerful. I turned the blade over with a quick little flip. It felt so natural. I hadn't even held the sword for a minute, and I already felt as if I were equipped to take on the world. I was surprised to discover that there was an engraving in Hebrew on this side of the blade near the crossguard. How odd, I thought. While I recognized the script, I couldn't read it. I didn't have long to muse over it, however. Step over here, careful now, to this cask, Sister Hedwig. Everybody else should stand back. Now lift it up. I was not really listening. I knew what to do. With a speed that evidently surprised Adela, I swung the blade down onto the top of the barrel in front of me. Not bad, but you must swing more confidently. Try... But I was already swinging the blade down again. The barrel gave way and red sherry came bursting forth all. Whoopa! Everyone cheered. The wine was all over my wimple and frock, but there was nothing I could do about that. I gave the broken barrel a few more gleeful hacks before Adela stayed my arm, laughing. Give someone else a turn. Who wants to go next? There are just enough casts for all of us to do one, I think. Everyone clambered around. Adela held her hand out to me expectantly. The sword? Hedwig. Oh, yes, of course. I handed the sword back to her gingerly. I didn't want to let it go. The crackling energy didn't subside, thankfully. Adela took her turn next. Hi-ya! She began her assault on the cask in front of her with a violent thrust into the dead center of the lid, as if she were attempting to pierce a wooden shield. The tip of the blade wedged itself between two of the planks, and she pressed forward with a slight twist. The entire lid buckled and split apart immediately. Adela was covered head to toe by red sherry. She giggled, then held the sword aloft similar to the way Eustace had, and gave a mighty war cry. That is how it's done! Okay, this is going to be a good... I see why they're doing this. They're showing me who can and can't use a sword. The sisters present all clapped for the expert swordswoman, and she gave a little bow and held the sword out for the next contestant. Catherine stepped forward. The end of her cloak drifted atop a flood of wine that was spreading rapidly outward from our position. I suppose tomorrow will be a laundry day. We might need to get new frocks. It's worth it. One by one, the rest of the sisters attacked their designated wine casks. Catherine opened with a horizontal swing that the rest of us instinctively ducked. She apologized and instead popped her cast with a wicked diagonal strike that crushed the angle where the lid and rim met. She hacked away at this opening until the lid splintered apart completely. Okay, good horizontal swing. That means if she wanted to chop off a head, she could. Moira's turn took a moment to get going. Whereas I'd been surprised how light the sword felt, she clearly found it rather heavy. It was somewhat comical when she took the sword from Catherine and nearly fell over when the taller woman let go. She chopped away at the top of her barrel as if she were splitting firewood. It took some doing, but she got there eventually, and we all clapped and cheered as she gave us a slightly embarrassed bow. Okay, not great with a sword, but you don't really need to be when decapitating someone. You know, might take you a couple of minutes, you know, depending on size or girth. You know, if they're hefty, it might take more than one swing, all I'm saying. Eustace dispatched her cask with shocking efficiency, however. In 7 rhythmic strikes, left, right, top, top, thrust, she completely shattered the lid. She practically opened that thing with the Konami code. Up, down, left, right, B8, wine. She hit it more times than Adela, but both of them were easily the most practiced. Darcy held her sword by the blade when she stepped up, prompting all of us to rush forward to stop her. All save for Adela, who began arguing that this was a perfectly valid technique. You'll hurt yourself. I wrap my hands in my sleeves. It will work. A pommel strike is actually very efficient, especially against these barrels. Darcy is not a soldier. She's going to... Darcy gave the bung of the barrel a surprisingly swift bat with the rounded bottom of the sword handle while the others were arguing. It popped free instantly, spraying everyone with sour-smelling sherry. Easy. Eustace gave her friend a withering look. Good work, Darce. I told you. Margaret, it's your turn. Catherine had to call across the room to get Margaret's attention. I had not noticed she had wandered so far afield. Margaret? Margaret did not answer. She was sitting on the bottom of the staircase back up to the cloister, her head buried in her arms. Perhaps she dozed off, it's rather late. And she volunteered to ring the bell tomorrow. However, Margaret was not asleep. She lifted her head up from the depths of her cloak and stared at us balefully, with glistening eyes. I wanted to say something to apologize, even though I had no idea what I would be apologizing for. Something about this impromptu cask-smashing ritual bothered her, although I had no idea what had prompted a reaction this strong. Marta was closely connected to the wine, after all, and she had merely given us all a stern goodbye. Margaret looked to be in pieces, however. I felt awful. I did not get a chance to say anything, though. Catherine coaxed her friend away privately, and they disappeared up the staircase into the darkness, while the rest of us said awkward farewells. Long night, I think. What was smashing all those a bit... gauche? Disrespectful to Catherine's memory, perhaps? I didn't intend it that way. Well, hopefully she understands that. It was a good idea, Sister Eustace. We climbed the staircase together, and then turned back towards the cellars to admire our handiwork. Moira started giggling. The Superior is going to kill us. I'll let her try. That was the most spiritually satisfying thing I've done in ages. Ah! Sister Flora! What about Flora? She did not get a chance to join us. It was her actions that inspired the whole exercise. We should find her. There's one cask of Catherine's awful sherry left, I believe. I suppose it'd only be fair. Good thinking. I'll check the cloister in the garden. Maybe she's just getting some fresh air. I'll scour the dorms and the kitchens. I'll make a round of the grounds. Hedwig? I'll search wherever is left. The chapel? Della can cover the chapel. That's closer to the kitchens. You should check the rest of the upstairs, maybe? The hallways and such. By my old cell? Exactly. Let's meet back here once we're finished looking, aye? I did not adore this idea, but I wasn't about to argue with Eustace in front of Adela and Moira. We traipsed up the stairs and went our separate ways. Eustace was still carrying the sword with her, swinging it idly at her side as if it were any old thing. As I found myself alone in the dark passageways, I began to wish I had a weapon as well. That hot rush of power holding that sword had provided had rapidly dissolved in the cold night air. I walked down the hall towards the intersection I had seen Eustace's horrible ghost visage with caution. The wind was picking up. I could hear that big door rattling again in the distance. I thought about peeking outside, but there was no chance that Flora was out on the wall when it was this cold and windy. That's how I excused myself anyway. In truth, I did not want to be startled by the door slamming again. Flora? I turned the corner away from the door. Flora! I could hear something strange underneath the wind. It was higher pitched and irregular in rhythm. It came from down the dark passageway to my cell. I braved a few steps forward to confirm it. I was sure of it. The sound got louder the further I walked. The hair on the back of my neck stood up straight. If Eustace was busy in the garden, then there was no way this could be a tired retread of her old jokes. It was an unearthly wail. It echoed around the whole hall, bouncing from wall to wall, pillar to pillar. I thought about the passageway Margaret had shown me. The demonic circle etched into the stone. The Barghest! I could not bear it one moment longer. I turned tail and sprinted out of the hall. Whatever that noise was, I told myself, it couldn't have been her. No joy? Eustace was already waiting when I arrived back at the cellar staircase. I shook my head as I came to a stop. Nothing, I'm afraid. I couldn't find her either. It's too dark to see out there without a proper torch, and all I had was a little candle. I doubt she's outside at all, to be honest. It's too damn cold. It is, isn't it? We stood in silence for a moment. I trust tonight gave you some catharsis? Oh, very much so. Good. I think we can call that the end of it. She looked down the stairs into the darkness. Goodbye, Catherine. I didn't know what to say. She had pivoted from slightly threatening to slightly forlorn so quickly, I had no recourse. I think breaking the cast was a very sweet idea. Do you? Well, that's good. I didn't take you as someone for impromptu ritual. No, but this felt right. It did, didn't it? I said whatever I could to steer the conversation away from where this started. I wanted Eustace to be satisfied that I would adhere to her request to stop searching. I did not want to have to lie about it out loud again. Adela arrived next. She was alone as well. I could not find her. Me either. Moira was just behind Adela, jogging back to our meeting spot. Oh well, we tried. That's likely good enough. Agreed. I would have felt bad if we did not at least make an effort. I do hope she's somewhere safe. This is a big abbey and she's a crafty young woman. I'm not worried. She's sulking. She probably does not want to be found. True. It's very late. We should call it a night. Flora will find her way to bed, I'm sure. The Superior is already going to have a conniption when she sees the state of the cellars. I dread to think what she'll do if we all sleep through service. Yes, we can't miss service. We all walked upstairs back to the dorms in silence. We said our goodnights in the dorm hall and retired to our separate rooms. For once, I fell asleep swiftly. But morning came far too soon. I think sleeping at all made things worse for me, truth be told. Have you ever had that experience? I can stay awake for quite a long time if I have to. But if I fall asleep, I need a proper full night of rest. I groaned when I woke up. I don't know how long I'd even managed to sleep for. I got dressed and stuck my head out into the hallway and my heart sank. There was no activity in the hall and a few doors were ajar. I was late for service. I scurried down the stairs as quickly as I could. The rain clouds that had been looming last night had finally broken. I could see a dotted black line of nuns entering the chapel ahead of me. I thanked God that I wasn't too late. As I made my way inside, I sensed that the mood was grim. I looked around at everyone. The sisters looked slightly haggard and paler than usual. Nobody was speaking. I did not see Flora anywhere. My heart sank. Margaret was sitting near the front of the chapel, her head resting on her closed fists. She had evidently gotten here first. I'm sorry, everyone. I volunteered to ring the bells this morning, but I forgot. She was staring straight ahead at something. Everyone looked so upset I half expected to see a dead body lying on the altar as I got closer. However, Margaret was staring dead ahead at a crumpled pile of wooden wreckage sitting on the floor in front of her. The portative organ. Oh, Margaret. I was trying to fix it. There was this piece that Catherine and I would always take out for a laugh. I know you all know. And I thought to myself recently, this joke was wearing a bit thin, and maybe it's not the best time. I came back in here to pop the missing piece back in and... crash. Nobody spoke. Are you going to tell her? God, no. If one of you wants to sell me out, feel free. But I'm not going to get myself in trouble. The gathered sisters awkwardly took their seats in the pews. We waited for a while, listening to the sound of the rain. I was trying to do something nice, and then it fell. I can't complain, I suppose. The door finally swung open again. I turned around to see the bishop holding it open for the superior. She glowered as she strode forward. Each of her footsteps echoed with a terrible and heavy thud against the chapel floor. After what felt like hours, she stopped in the middle of the room to address the women sitting in the pews. Sister Flora is missing. If anyone would like to claim credit for hiding her away somewhere, I would ask that you speak up now. I will be just and fair. I understand that this would not be the first time a practical joke went too far. Nobody spoke. I assume the mess in the cellars has something to do with it. I am offering clemency. Will nobody take responsibility for their actions? Very well. Should your consciences recover, you may reclaim some decency by confessing to me privately in my office after service. She looked around the chapel sternly. Everyone averted their gaze. With a sharp sigh, she moved forward toward the altar. Each footstep echoed terribly in my head. I could see Margaret tensing up ahead of me. There was a pause. Oh, hell! Everyone jumped. The superior had seen the portative organ. She flew up the steps to the altar in a rage. Margaret, Catherine, which one of you was it? Silence. Eustace? Who did it? I know it was one of you! The room was utterly airless. It had to be someone here. We don't have ghosts here, nor spirits, Bogus, or any other devilish creatures. I know it had to be someone in this room. Who else could it have been, You all protect each other. Don't for 1 second think I cannot see it. I scarcely know this place anymore. You all hide every aspect of it from me. It matters not if it's a missing bread roll, or a piece of my portative organ, or a murdered sister! Superior, are you not feeling well? No, Sister Moira, I am not feeling well. My youngest charge is missing. I pray to God she hasn't met the same fate as Sister Catherine. And do you know why I pray? Because I have a congregation of rats gnawing at my ankles. There is nothing you will allow me to do. I am supposed to be in charge. I am Mother Superior. But I understand who is really in control here. It is not me, it is all of you. Each and every one of you spend your days trying to find the cleverest little ways to defy my wishes and orders. Perhaps we should take a moment to calm ourselves. Perhaps try to put this instrument of yours back together. I'm sure this young sister is simply playing truant. The superior raised a silencing hand to the bishop, who looked dismayed. Is it very hard living here? It's so difficult not having to want for anything. To not have to throw yourselves at some awful man or beg for money on the street. This place gives you everything. I give you everything, but it's never enough! You all have the run of the place for almost every hour of every day, but the barest of responsibilities, the smallest courtesies, are too great an ask for you. Oh no, you could not possibly spend 30 miserable minutes listening to some liturgical music. You undoubtedly all have pressing plans today. I am certain they're important, drinking yourselves into a stupor in the Misericorde, perhaps. Or are you all waiting to dance around Flora's body trussed up like a maypole? I have turned a blind eye to all manners of vices in my tenure here. Do not pretend I am unaware. Manly, selfish sodomites, the lot of you! She loomed over the altar, breathing raggedly. Her eyes darted between all of the women present, who squirmed uncomfortably and looked away. I just can't bear being treated this way any longer. Could any of you? How many of you could stand to live the way you all conspire to make me live? I took a peek into the cellars this morning. Broken barrels, wine all over the floor. It stunk to high heaven. I could deal with that on its own. I wouldn't stop you all from having your fun. But where is Flora? What happened, Will no one come forward? Very well. She stepped down from the altar. The bishop made to follow her. He looked gravely concerned. The superior looked straight ahead as she strode defiantly out of the chapel. Service is concluded. Do whatever you like. Mabel. The bishop turned around as he reached the door. He shot an apologetic glance around the room, then bounded after the superior as they swung shut. We were left in the dark. Sorry. I was a bit preoccupied last night. Where is Flora? An uneasy feeling was starting to build in the room. We don't know. We looked for her last night after everyone left the cellar. We thought she would have a turn smashing the barrels with us. Don't you dare blame me. I wouldn't dream of it. I don't like this. Me either. If she left of her own accord, Flora is responsible for her own choices. She may be the youngest of us, but she is 19 years of age. Flora would have a family by now were she not here. Responsibilities. She ran off after Marta hit her. Don't you dare blame me for this. I wouldn't dream of it. Thank you for setting me straight, Eustace. I merely assumed, as I was not there... Are you really going to make this about your lack of invitation? As if you would have enjoyed it. That is not what we are discussing. No, but you thought you could sneak in a complaint or two because you're an annoying client! Charity had stepped up to the altar. She looked rather commanding and deadly serious. Listen to yourselves. There's only one thing that should be on anyone's mind right now. Finding Sister Flora. Aye? Her question was met with a unanimous mumble of acknowledgement. Last night it sounds like a few people poked around looking for her. But now all of us are here. No fighting now. We're all on the same side, aren't we? Let's split up and search this whole damn place for our Flora. At the very least, I want to be able to show the Superior we can take care of our own. Aye? Another approving murmur. What was that passage Catherine liked to quote at times like this? That one. I was taken aback. What on earth did Luke have to do with this? Nevertheless, I was impressed with the ease with which Eustace recited the scripture. She does what I cannot. Everyone else murmured Sati est along with her. That is enough. Lovely. Off we go, then. We all filed out of the church. There was an odd energy about, a sense of purpose. I was not entirely sure what had just transpired. I was turning those words from Luke over and over in my head as we began spreading throughout the cloister. Why that passage? What do those words mean to these women? And what did they have to do with finding a missing girl? I was baffled, but I was at least relieved to be free from the confines of the chapel. I decided to begin my search in the garden. Most of the others, it seemed, were headed towards the main building. I really did hope Flora was safe. But right now I just wanted to be alone. I had had quite enough group discussion for one morning. I socialized for like 15 minutes, like my battery is drained. Even in the rain, the flowers were quite lovely. They bounced up and down as raindrops hit them. There was a faint and pleasant rustling all throughout the grounds. I walked up and down the hedgerows. I was not sure what to expect. Would Flora jump out from behind a bush? Was I likely to find her sulking in a bed of carrots? I began to feel quite guilty. I wasn't helping. I was taking a relaxing stroll amongst the flowers. Hey, kitty! Campy had emerged from underneath a thicket in front of me. Seemingly unbothered by the rain, it sat in my path and leveled a curious stare at my way. Go on. Shoot. No! You'll catch cold in this weather. Do cats catch colds? Well, that answers it. The cat flicked its tail back and forth and stared at me. It looked thoughtful. I felt like I was being sized up. I suppose I should thank you. You took the blame for the ink bottle, after all. Yes, I was losing my grip a bit on things, wasn't I? Talking to a cat? What was I thinking? It seemed to understand me, however. Because vermin share a secret language. It walked forward and rubbed itself against my ankles, disappearing under my robe for just a moment. Ah, don't! Don't touch me! I hopped to the side. The little creature trotted back to where it had been sitting before, only this time it didn't look at me. It turned its gaze up into the air and began to make an unpleasant chittering sound. I tilted my head up to see what it was looking at. I half expected to see those mysterious pennants again. But there was nothing. Only rain clouds and passing birds. When I looked down, the cat was gone. I mean, hey, you fell for the Bugs Bunny trick. That's on you. Cat's like, what a maroon. I sighed and peered into the sky once more, just in case I had missed whatever the little creature had seen. There was nothing amidst the clouds. However, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something on the parapet overlooking the garden. There it was again, looking straight at me. I bolted back the way I had come, through the bushes and hedges. I hoped I could disappear in the flowers. When I stopped to catch my breath, I looked back at the building in the distance. It was gone. I was safe from whatever it was. For the time being, anyway. Enjoy the violets while you can. It'll snow soon. Oh, hello, Eustace. Has Flora been found? No. I just needed a break. I've been all around the grounds. And then I went to look in the library, but it's been locked since last night. No way Flora could be in there, thankfully. I was half expecting to find her scribbling rude drawings in your chronicles. I'm not worried about that. I doubt anyone would want to tamper with my writing. Eustace pantomimed a mock shiver. Horrible. I always worry about that. Hours of work undone. Right, well, a break can do you a lot of good. Perhaps we'll think of somewhere else to look. We stood and admired the flowers together. I've been meaning to ask you, how are you taking to chronicling? I can't help but notice you still tend to finish quite early. Oh, it's been no problem. I'm sure I'll come into my own once I've had a little bit more time practicing the fundamentals. As long as nothing's bothering you. I know we made up on the cart ride, but... Oh, no, not at all. I haven't given our little spat a second thought. Well, that's good. I really am sorry about all that. Her expression stayed as inscrutable as ever. There's no need. Sister Eustace, I've been sad about something else. Flora will turn up. No, it's not that. I'm afraid Sister Catherine II, she has not left my thoughts, even though I was not party to the event. Forgive me if I'm going in circles here, but I've still been hearing so much about her, but at the same time, very little. If that makes any sort of sense. It does, although it doesn't surprise me. You weren't here. I mean, you were, but you weren't. You don't really understand what she meant to us. You should be glad of that. Keep it that way. Hedwig. You must be exceedingly careful. This isn't the first time you've cautioned me. What do you really mean? I don't think I need to say more. I'm afraid you must. Eustace gave me a piercing look for a few moments, but then relented with a small sigh. Listen, I don't intend to be rude about it. You and I are very similar in some regards. Were you anchored at some point? No. But we both bristle easily at misunderstanding, don't we? I cannot disagree. Conversation is difficult. I understand. I can sense the questions you're dancing around while talking to me, hoping that I'll answer without you asking. I just don't want you to wander into a situation you can't handle with someone else here. I can't fault your curiosity, but you must understand that losing Catherine II was shocking in many ways for many people, for many reasons. Reasons that someone not deeply embedded in Lynnborough could never understand. And you're worried I'll upset someone? More or less. I'm only trying to help you. I keep finding you swinging sticks around wasps' nests. Do I come across that way? A little girl swinging a toy sword around? Yes. The Superior meant well, but she had a bit too much faith in her own clever idea, I think. I was able to figure out what you were up to. Someone else might catch up. How can I not ask after Catherine? She is nowhere, but she is everywhere. She has been brought up to me several times without me asking. She's inescapable. Even if I wasn't charged to investigate her death, I would have heard about her, and I would have been curious. I never even saw her body. I have no idea what she looked like. But nonetheless, everyone here has painted a picture of her in my mind. Listen, if it helps, you can just ask me. Ask anything you'd like. You don't have to try and bait it out of me. What happened? The day it all happened. Well, I'd gotten up early to do some work in the library. Sister Charity found the body on her morning walk. She was beside herself. Catherine's body was in the middle of the cloister. She had been beheaded, although later we had discovered that wasn't her only wound. Evidently, there was a struggle between her and her attacker. Of course, we didn't have time to sit around and speculate. Marta comforted Charity while the rest of us scrambled around looking for the killer. I checked upstairs in the Misericorde library. I reasoned that those might be good hiding places. I remember Darcy checked the dormitories. It was a day like any other. It felt strange. As if we were all still working as normal, off doing our separate tasks. It was still just a morning at the Abbey. When I couldn't find anyone in the library, I went downstairs to the Superior's office. Apparently, I was the first to think of letting her know. She and Angela were still preparing for the morning's liturgy, but as soon as I told her what was happening, she joined the search. Eventually, we ran out of places to look that weren't already covered. I remember passing Adela coming up from the cellars, shaking her head. The Superior, Moira, and I attended to the body while the search continued throughout the grounds. We took Catherine's body into the chapel and laid her under the altar and covered her with a blanket until we could arrange a burial. It is probably for the best that Moira and I handled it. I think the two of us have the strongest constitutions out of anyone here. Eventually, Sister Angela hauled a young man in on his ear, who I vaguely recognized as being our delivery boy. She said that she had found him hiding in the east grounds. I stressed that it was normal for him to be here in the mornings, and that the commotion could have just scared him. But then Darcy wandered in holding his traveling cloak. It was covered in blood. She said she had seen it in his cart. And that was that. The Superior and Moira dragged the fellow to the hospitalum, and here we are, with a new chronicler. They took him straight to the hospitalum? Immediately. Everyone looked ready to tear him to pieces. You should have heard what some of the sisters were shouting as the Superior left. It just doesn't seem right, although I suppose it was better to lock him away in a dungeon than leave him here at everyone's mercy. I spoke to him, you know, in the hospitalum. I know he could be a simple liar, but he pleaded so earnestly. It felt so strange. It doesn't feel right to keep him there. Why does the hospitalum have a dungeon? Eustace's eyes narrowed. She stepped towards me without warning, pushing me into the flower bush uncomfortably. Hedwig, listen to me very closely. I thought I had made it clear, but apparently I am not getting through. Be careful. She had me by the scruff of my robe, and even though she was slightly shorter than me, I felt terribly threatened. Why can't you trust me? I am doing everything in my power to help you. Flora wasn't careful, and look where we are now. I do not want to see anyone else get hurt. I do not want to see you fall victim to your own meddling. I need you to stay out of this. I don't know what you're talking about, Eustace. Stay out of it! Leave it alone! Her words seemed to echo around the garden for a few moments. Her demand even scared some of the birds away. Finally, she stepped off. She brushed off her robe, still looking at me intensely. You have to trust me. Whatever the Superior is putting you up to, you need to stop it. Please don't misunderstand me, Hedwig. I am on your side. Do you believe James killed her? Hedwig, do you believe it? No. Then you surely understand that I can't just... I can sympathize. But you need to let it go. Are you trying to find the truth as well? Maybe we can work together. The most helpful thing you can do right now is nothing at all. So you're just going to let him take the blame? You'd let Catherine die in vain? You are treading on dangerous ground. Do you think me uncaring? Do you think this is easy? I think Catherine would have wanted justice to be done. You don't know a fucking thing about Sister Catherine! Not a thing. So don't you pretend to know anything about what she would have wanted, or what justice for her would look like. I know plenty! I know she was good at chess. I know she was a sharp reader, and I know she had a keen sense of what is and isn't fair. I heard about her letters to France and her thoughts on money. I know she fancied herself a warrior and tried to teach you all how to fight. I know she wanted everyone to try new things and think about what they could do with their time on God's earth. I know she liked plays. All of that is correct. But it's like you said before. You know so much. But altogether very, very little. Well then, what am I missing? I know that she's someone who wouldn't just be left in the lurch by her friends. I know people loved her. Surely that's enough. That is only half of it. Hedwig, think about it. Everyone here loved her, is that it? Has everyone been sharing stories about how wonderful she is? Of course. And you don't believe James killed her. You don't believe it was some random murder? Neither do you. And that's just it. Hedwig, if that man didn't kill her, then someone here did. Not a ghost, not a bear, one of the sisters here. And that means that the things people loved about her, that's only half the story. You're saying someone is lying to me? You will never find an answer because you will never fully grasp what her relationships here were like. I just want the truth. For her sake. Eustace began to chuckle and then laugh heartily. I was stunned. This is in very poor taste. I'm not laughing at you. I just... what's gotten into you? How could I possibly convey everything I know that you don't? The idea that you'd understand is just... Oh yes, you're very proud of how intelligent you are, aren't you? The very thought of explaining what I know to someone who wasn't there. You didn't see her lying there. You can't possibly know. Eustace? She was doubled over laughing now. It was a disturbing sight to say the least, but it was her words that truly got under my skin. You didn't see her friend, covered in blood. What would you know about it? All you've ever done is read books. All you ever do is speculate. You're poking around in stories you have no stake in. Events you weren't there for, isn't that right? Are you quite all right? You don't even know what she looked like. I saw her with my own eyes. Her head in her hands. Blood all over the place. I cleaned it all up. I was her dearest confidant, and I couldn't stop it. And you think you could do better? I didn't mean to... I didn't know what to do. I tried my best to assume a comforting stance, some sort of embrace. Although my arms never made it around Eustace's body. She jerked her head back and began to dry heave between her humorless, maniacal laughs. I carried her by her legs with Moira, like two ale benches carrying a drunkard home. Her head kept falling off. Can you imagine it? Your friend's severed head rolling off her chest, bouncing on the stone, over and over, down the chapel's front stairs. Stop it, you've made your point. And you know what? For as brave a face as I put on, as stoic as I have to stay, even now, even I could not shake the feeling that even through her dead eyes, that she was looking straight at me. Stop! How perfectly horrible it all was. Just the idea is devastating. Is it? Well, I saw it. I touched it. I was there. Her hollow laughs had given way to bitter, dry sobs. I tried to pat her on the back, or something of the sort, anything that might comfort her. But she stood up straight as soon as I touched her, brushing me away. Promise me. Promise me you will stay out of it. Please. Eustace. This mess. It's too much for me to bear, and I do understand the extent of it all. I was present for the whole affair, and I can't bring myself to do anything about it. I don't know who could be watching. I don't know what else might happen. Maybe that's why I can help. Why I should help. Eustace shook her head. No. There's nothing you can do. Nothing? I'm already... You don't know how much progress I've already made. It can't be much if you're still standing here. What's that supposed to mean? Whatever sort of conspiracy is playing out here, it would have to be all-consuming. I knew the instant the Superior announced you'd be joining us that it must have something to do with Catherine. If it was that obvious to me, I know that I'm being watched. I've seen someone. Perhaps more than one person, I can't know for certain. Figures in the shadows. That's always been me. My stupid practical joke. I did that. To scare you off. But it didn't work, clearly. Maybe some of them. But I know it hasn't always been you. How? How could you possibly convince yourself of such a ridiculous... Because I just saw them. She suddenly went very pale. You... On top of the wall. Not a quarter of an hour ago. Unless you can be in two places at once. It couldn't possibly have been you. Eustace wiped her face with her sleeve. Maybe that was someone else I put up to it? Maybe that was someone else I put up to it to scare you. Maybe this is all another trick of mine. I do not believe it is. Then you should take my warnings even more seriously. Are there ghosts here? Devils? I don't know. But I know there is some malevolence at work in this place that is real. It is hurting people, killing them. And I'm trying to help you stay out of its gaze. Your concern is noted. I know a dark force is at work at this place. It killed Catherine, and it's taken Flora. On that we can agree. But I'm not just doing this for the Superior. If Flora never showed her face here again, how would you feel? If you have any decency, you must feel wretched just imagining it. I feel that way without Catherine, and I never met her. All I have is one of her books and some of your stories. So I know you must feel worse than I do. I'm scared witless by the shadow I worry is creeping in the shadows. But it would be worse to ignore it. And I'm not going to let it stop me. Not them, nor you. I will not let the devil win. I held no blade in my hands, but at that moment I felt like I could have taken on an army by myself. I breezed past a dumbfounded Eustace back towards the Abbey. I put her behind me and walked as fast as I could. I could hear her shouting behind me as I put distance between us. Eustace, Angela, the Superior, they were all making demands of me. But I served one, and one alone. Hedwig! Leave it be! Leave it alone! Hedwig! Listen to me! The search continued well into the evening. As darkness fell, the weather turned foul. It was pouring now, and the stone walls rumbled as rolling thunder shook the mountain itself. We had all gathered in the chapel again. From a quick glance around the room, I gathered that everyone had returned empty-handed. Charity took the altar again, looking grim. No joy? That is rather worrying. Oh, we've looked everywhere. I explored places I had never been before. Everyone had put in a lot of work, it seemed. There had been no time to relax or get changed. Some of our frocks were still covered in wine. It would have been motivating had the situation been slightly less grim. The determination I had felt after my conversation with Eustace was being tested. I wanted to blurt out that I had a good idea of where Flora might be. We could all walk down that hallway together. Surely there was nothing so frightening down there that nearly a dozen women could not face. But if someone here were responsible for some grand plan that I did not understand, would I just be putting Flora in more danger? Would I be placing myself in harm's way? Appearing too observant, too clever? I could make myself the next target if I spoke up now. I tried not to think about which of these two arguments swayed me more. Stressing over my plan was putting my stomach in knots. I hoped someone else might suggest what I could not, but that was never going to happen. My cell was not, and had never been on anyone's mind. My cell had never been in any of these women's hearts. As I looked around the room, I noticed that Marta was standing off to the side of the chapel alone. She looked gaunt and weak. I had been consistently surprised by her vigor up until now. But for the first time, she looked her age. Well... Is there anywhere that has not been scoured? The cellars? The croft? Those were my first ideas. I see. And I know Adela looked in the same places after I did. I think that all of us may have individually checked everywhere, one after the other. We've all doubled up. I do not doubt that people have put their back into it, just... Oh, I'm worried. I really hope she is safe. If only we had looked a little harder last night. It's not your fault. Missing for one night, that's just acting out. Missing for 2 nights. We have done everything we can today, I'm afraid. I think we all need to rest and try again tomorrow. My feet are killing me. No. We have to keep looking. I understand how seriously we're all taking this, but we should take a breather. A night's sleep is what we all need right now. We'll expand out beyond the grounds tomorrow, I think. I don't need any of you falling asleep and rolling down the hill. Flora missing is quite enough, thank you. Everyone seemed to agree, albeit reluctantly. When I had left Eustace in the garden, a plan had formed in my mind. I had a sneaking suspicion where Flora was, but I dared not share it with the rest of the sisters. There was a place I was certain nobody had checked. A place I knew even Margaret had likely avoided, even if she had considered it. The thought terrified me, but I knew I had to check, for Flora's sake. We all filed out of the chapel back towards the dorms through the storm. I really hope she isn't out in this weather. If she is, I would wager she is safe. She is young and resourceful. Remember when Catherine taught all of us how to make fires? I do. You're right, she's probably having a more comfortable night than us. Adela rubbed Moira's shoulders reassuringly, then broke off to go talk to Angela. Should someone tell the Superior what we did today? I wouldn't. I went to try and talk to her earlier, and I could hear her sobbing. Even through that thick door of hers. I imagine she's been getting shouted at by the bishop all day. I don't think we should talk to her until we have good news. Oh dear. Oh dear. The moment I sat down on my bed, I had a sinking feeling that I was not going to be able to sleep before I got a chance to test my theory. I could just sense it. No, my bones told me. I sighed and rolled onto my back fully dressed. I stared at the ceiling for a while. The thick stone walls gave us a great deal of privacy, and I had to strain to hear the slightest indication that the others were getting ready for bed. I thought about cracking open the copy of Medea that Catherine had written for me, but I remembered the subject matter and decided now was not the right time. I said a little prayer, asking for some guidance. No wisdom came to me. But then I sheepishly remembered that I had been granted an entire vision not too long ago. As always, I was asking far too much and doing far too little. For at least an hour, I stewed in my own thoughts. I tossed and turned, trying to find a position in my bed that didn't get uncomfortable after a few minutes. I scratched itches that weren't really there and attempted to fluff my pillow into a shape that would grant me sleep the instant my head touched it. I just started getting comfortable, I swear, when I heard a strange sound carrying on outside my door. I hopped out of bed and stepped out into the hall. It was almost pitch black out here, save for the embers pulsing in the fireplace. Nobody else, it seemed, was bothered enough by the noise to poke their head out like I had. I sighed. I hoped dimly that it had been Flora returning to her dorm. I retrieved and lit a candle from the mantelpiece. There was no use torturing myself in bed any longer. Now, which room was Flora's? I knew Catherine's room was next to mine and had the squeaking door. I remembered Moira's room had inky paw prints leading out of it, next to Catherine's. Darcy's was on the very end of my row, closest to the hearth. I chanced a door I couldn't place. It felt noisy, but if I could spare myself a horrid adventure into that hall... Ever so gently, I pushed the unfamiliar door with my finger. I realized this was not a particularly wise idea. The door swung inward. Not only was it rude, it was conspicuous. I pushed this door in just a little more before thinking better of it. Just before I relented, however, I caught something odd. I could hear at least two people breathing on the other side of this door. They must have been discussing where else to look for Flora, I reasoned, and gone late into the night out of concern. Or perhaps a darker voice in the back of my head suggested they had been scheming on what cruelties to enact on her next. Then I heard a startling sound. It had come from far away, but even so, it was blood-curdling. I scampered out of the dormitories and onto the landing. I did my best to steel myself. If only I had thought to demand Eustace lend me the sword when I had found the courage to stand up to her in the garden. The pricket would have to do. I heard it again. This time it was mixed with that same hair-raising whine I had heard in my cell's hallway. My heart stopped. That was definitely a woman yelling. Screaming? I panicked. Was I too late? I had not told any of the others about my theory. Flora was hiding in my old cell. None of them could know. If Flora was a target of someone's dark machinations the way Catherine had been, I had to be the one to find her. I picked up my pace and jogged towards the dark hallway crossing. The huge door was rattling in the wind again, but that wasn't the source of the sound I was chasing. It was definitely coming from the darkest hall, the one my cell was in. The one that evil sigil was in. I froze for a moment, unsure what to do. The pride I had felt deducing the one place nobody would have thought to check had been enough to make me forget about that. The pricket's spike could defend me in a pinch if I were face to face with Flora's human attacker. But if it was some devil summoned by that magic circle, could I go down there alone? Should I rouse the Superior? Did I have time to rouse anyone? There was that horrible wail again. It gave me my answer. However small, however vulnerable, however powerless I felt, I knew that there was no time to double back. Demonic sigils be damned. I was a woman of faith. I could withstand whatever it summoned. I sprinted down the hall into the darkness. My candle blew out almost instantly, but I didn't have time to care. I ripped the wax off of the pricket to expose the sharp point. It wasn't much, but this would have to serve as my sword for now. I rushed headlong toward the terrible sound, clutching the candle pricket with both hands as if I were wielding a mighty claymore. Wah! The face! A face rushed out of the darkness. Hedwig! Run! It all happened too quickly for me to register that I had been correct. Flora blew past me, nearly knocking me over. I did not have time to ask what was happening. I could hear the terrifying stomp of those boots echoing throughout the halls. We sprinted throughout the black hall to the dim light ahead of us and turned towards the giant rattling door. Flora bolted straight at it, past the hallway that would take us back towards the dorms. Where are you going? Away from here! I was about to break left for the dormitories, but then I saw exactly why Flora had avoided that path. I caught a glimpse of evil eyes and felt the dull thud of metal boots against the floor close by. Flora's pursuer had navigated to cut us off. I screamed and sprinted as fast as I could after Flora. We made it to the door. I didn't even want to think about how close our pursuer was. Well, where were you? What's happening? Help me open this! Now! She was pushing against the imposing door with all her might, but it wouldn't budge. I threw my meager weight against the edge of it to try and help, but it was so heavy I felt like I might as well have been pushing against a stone wall. The wind was pressing it shut, and two small women whose shoes were slipping over the flagstone floor weren't doing much to combat it. My fingers were in danger of being caught in the jam every time the door buckled, but I kept pushing. I turned my head and caught a glimpse of the monster bearing down on us. It was as tall and terrible as I remembered, but this time it was enveloped in a cloud of smoke. Embers crackled around its soulless eyes. There was no oiled sword this time. This monster brought the very fires of hell with it. Eustace! This isn't funny! Even though I knew it couldn't be her, I pleaded just in case. I still had a small dim hope that this was just another prank, that Eustace had been telling the truth after all. But the creature was unmoved. The giant oaken door finally swung open just enough for me to slip through. I turned to try and yank Flora out with me, grabbing a handful of whatever cloth I could find to make it outside. But the door caught her foot as I pulled her through. Help! I held onto her free hand with both of mine. She yelped, and I could tell that the monster on the other side of the threshold had grabbed onto her. Don't let go! I won't! Her face contorted and twisted as the door squeezed her ankle. At the very least, it was doing enough to keep the demon from pulling her away from me. Had it not been for that massive slab of wood, I doubt I would have been able to help her at all. Hedwig! The wind let up for a moment, and the sudden lack of force set us both off balance as the weight of the door lifted. We fell down, and the door swung open just far enough for me to see that our attacker had let Flora go as well. She was scrambling towards me on all fours, but the beast lurched forward to snatch her again. I held my hands out again to hold onto the poor girl's arm. Her fingers gripped my frock, and I held her wrist as tightly as I could, but I knew I could not combat this monster alone. The wind suddenly picked up again, and just as both of us got a hold of Flora, the door slammed shut again with a sickening crunch. I had managed to pull Flora clear of the beast's lunge, but I hadn't been fast enough to keep her leg from being crushed by the door. She wailed as I attempted to pull her free. I couldn't manage it, and I was terrified that the door would pull her broken leg right off if I yanked any harder. Pull! Pull! I can't! It's still holding on to you! I don't know. I can't feel anything. She was sobbing and screaming. I planted my feet against the wall and pulled her toward me. By some miracle, the wind let up enough for the door to loosen its grip on Flora's leg. We tumbled backwards into a heap. My head hit the floor with a crack, and for a moment my vision faded. My eyes slowly regained focus, and I looked up into the threshold. The twisted creature was looming over us. I closed my eyes once more and braced myself for the end, and hoped despite everything that I would see heaven. But death never came. When I opened my eyes, the monster was gone. The door swung shut again, slower this time. The wind was still blowing, but it had died down just a little. Flora wasn't moving. I shook her gently in an attempt to rouse her. There. I think it's gone. She did not answer. I held onto her tight and stared up into the night sky. What a mess I had made of everything. Raindrops pelted my face. I knew I had to move. But I was wholly leaden. The events of the past few weeks and their brutal dismantling of my steady faith were weighing me down. I scarcely recognized myself. And I actively tried to reject the situation I found myself in. The pain in the back of my head was getting unbearable. I squeezed my eyes shut. I am dreaming, I remember thinking. This is not real. Those cards even told me. No. I could not consider pagan frivolities. I was a faithful anchoress. I was simply having a long, horrible nightmare. Another vision. When you open your eyes again, I told myself, you will be home. You will be back in your cell, dry and warm, your oath intact, and maybe you'll be able to try it all over again. I had no such luck. It is growing rather late, isn't it? I apologize, but I think I'll leave my story there for tonight. I did not cover anything close to what I consider the full story, but that is a rather exciting place to leave things, is it not? Even if you know what happens, there's still a sense of, oh, I don't know. I felt something recalling these misadventures, even though I had lived them. Do you know how things turned out? No, don't tell me who you are. I am getting some enjoyment out of imagining telling this story to an impartial audience. Please don't be frustrated with me for stopping here, with my investigation just barely started. I promise you that all of these details are important. I may not have realized it at the time. In fact, I only just noticed the importance of some things after speaking them out loud to you. So really, I must thank you. May I confide something in you? This is the first time that I feel like I understand the job of a chronicler. Or rather, I finally have something worth chronicling. And someone to tell those chronicles to. It's a shame that it took so long for me to feel inspired. And that these are such awful events. But I suppose that the worst events are the ones that need the best records. Would you agree? In that spirit, I can offer you some of my notes. I believe I have some from the appropriate time I can share with you. Here. They aren't much, but you can peruse these while I prepare for our next meeting. Anyway, I must rest. We can continue this soon. Thank you for listening to me prattle on and on. I'll be ready to share more before you know it. And so will I, folks. Thanks for everything. Ooh, steady on. That never happened, did it? I'd say it was my mistake, but it wasn't really. I might have let it slip. On purpose. She hates it when I fiddle with her hobbies. Can you believe that? It's a bit rude not to share. Especially with dear, close friends. Even ruder to hide from friends, if you ask me. But we're due for a reunion, I think. All thanks to you. Don't look so nervous. You've helped me, and I'm a very generous woman. I can tell you like to read. At least, I hope you do if you've made it this far. How about a little more? I think you'd find this interesting. I found it lying around somewhere or other. I don't know if it's entirely accurate, but what is? And now for something completely different. Ma'am, I would really appreciate it if we could avoid causing a scene. I bought this ticket! This is bullshit! Ma'am, please. I ain't stopping you from getting on the plane. I'm just warning you that you may need to remove your piercings to get through security. Why? Are they gonna reflect off the rearview mirror? Are they gonna mess with the radar? Do they look explosive or something? Sweetie, can you not say the X word so loud? You're making the other people in line nervous. Sorry, which word? Explosive? A few of the other clerks next to the woman I was speaking to glanced over, eyebrows raised. I was getting kick out of making these people squirm, I gotta admit. But it was beyond bullshit that I was being told to remove my piercings just to go through airport security. Yes, stop saying it so loud, or at all. Not to mention your jacket. After typing hastily into her terminal for a few more seconds, the woman finally handed back my passport. My ticket sputtered out of a loud machine, and I snatched it before she had a chance to take it. Have a pleasant flight. I do apologize if I caused any offense by commenting on your jewelry and stuff. Something tells me you don't warn everyone about the metal detector. I'm just trying to be helpful, ma'am. I rolled my eyes and stepped away. It was a good thing I had gotten to the airport early. I was hungry as fuck. I heaved my backpack onto my shoulders and set off towards my terminal. I figured at least I'd have time to grab a snack before I got on the plane. There were a decent amount of folks in line to get through the detector. The line moved quick, so when I got to the security guy, he sort of gave me this, oh great, look. All metal objects in the bin with your bag, please. I rolled my eyes and started dechroming myself. Studded bracelets off, nose ring off, earrings out, vest off, more studs. Now why the hell would you wear all that to the airport? Man, shut up. The guard raised his eyebrows and opened his mouth to say something, but quickly stopped when he saw me lean over to rest one arm against the x-ray machine next to the metal detector and reached down to my leg. Ah. I probably should have opted for one of the wheelchairs outside the terminal to get around the airport, but fuck it. I had a lot of energy ahead of this trip and I wanted to travel light. I dunked my leg into the bin with the rest of my shit and hopped towards the guard. I'm gonna do a little spin thing through it. The guard stepped back a bit to let me put one arm through the metal detector, then jumped through it to rest both my arms against the conveyor belt that fed out of the x-ray machine. Slick. A few people waiting in line behind me clapped. I rolled my eyes. My bag and bits came through across the belt. I took a second to put myself back together and to thank God that none of my other piercings had set the machine off. When I was putting my jacket back on, the guard commented on my back patch. I don't know if I'd wear that to the airport. Gonna do something about it? He laughed. Easy, easy. You're at like here. He held his hand up in the air. And I'm like way down here. Where are you flying? The UK. Oh yeah, you're gonna need to come way down from up there. That's a long flight. What's a TU? He was waving more people through as I put my studs and rings back on. Nothing at all. I just don't like seeing people fly mad. Not sure that's your jurisdiction, cop. I'm a cop? Do you think you're not a cop? I've got a real boring beat for a cop. You've got a badge and everything. It's a private security gig, ma'am. So you're like a mall cop. Man, I wish. They get to walk more, I think. Yeah, well, still a cop. How many of those doodads and piercings do you have, anyway? More than you'll ever see. Ma'am, I promise you, I am not bringing the hostility to this conversation that you are perceiving. Sorry. It's just, you know. Do I? It was hard not to grin at this guy, profession aside. Cop. Folks were passing by and taking their bags as the guard waved them through. What's your name? Alex. Is that real, or is that just what you tell cops? Nah, that's real. I don't tell cops anything. See, that's good. We're opening a dialogue. And not real cops. Ouch. No, see, that's good. Damn, I feel like Jimmy Carter. We're building a real framework for peace here. Man, fuck off with that. Shoot. I've got you back up again after all that. Look, I don't know what any of that political shit means. I just hear the news in the break room sometimes. It is what it is, I guess. I finally finished getting my shit together and turned away from the conversation to head towards the terminal. Have a good flight now, ma'am. Look, I don't have time right now, but if I ever see you again, I'm gonna recommend you some books to explain some stuff, alright? I winced as soon as the word spelled out. It sounded cooler in my head. How? I don't know, but I swear it did. Okay then. I'm looking forward to it. Weirdo. Even with all those distractions, I'd ended up with some time before my flight. I figured I'd grab a burger or something, go over my itinerary, etc., etc. The fast food place was pretty busy, but the line moved quick enough, and I soon had a nice bag of garbage to fuel me through an international flight. There weren't any free tables, but there was an empty bar stool near the front of the place at the long table where all the single travelers were eating. Or at least it would have been empty if there wasn't a handbag on it. You good if I sit here? Of course. My stool was in the corner next to the wall. My neighbor was a preppy-looking woman wearing a purple knitted turtleneck. She had a pair of those big hoop earrings, bright red lipstick, stick-on nails, bangs that covered her eyes. Not really my scene, but fuck it, I wasn't gonna eat standing up. She lifted the bag up onto the table and drummed her fingers against the seat. The red pleather was faded and cracked, and when I got up close, I could see that the bar stools and table were covered in rude graffiti. Oh, thanks. My pleasure, darling. Where are you headed? Burger Town? She chuckled as I unwrapped my food. Didn't know they had an airport here. England. Oh, now that's funny. Me as well. Gate 17? The 3 o'clock? That's the one. Small world. You going home, or... did me accent give it away? She definitely played it up a little for that response. Good to know it's back to normal, then. I'm just gonna be shifting right into this, you know. I could have passed for a real valley girl before I got to the terminal. I always pick up a bit of local flavor from wherever I'm visiting. So you, like, got your English voice back when you started thinking about home? That's cool. Something like that. It's a bit mental. I can say that here, of course. That's ruder in the UK. Yeah? You shouldn't say mental. And trucks are lorries. Oh, and do you smoke? What gave it away? Well, try not to get cross if anyone offers you... Chill. Chill. I knew that one. Well, that's good then. She looked real pleased with herself. I never had much patience for people who like testing boundaries for fun, but I had nowhere else to go. Besides, who knows who else I would meet if I ever left. I was running into some real head cases today. Visiting family, then? Yeah. Whereabouts, if you don't mind my asking? Up north a ways. I've got a long-ass bus ride once I get to Heathrow. Isn't it funny how a big place like that can feel? Sure. It could probably fit in Cali, right? Oh, easily. Do you mind if I steal a chip? Huh? Oh, my mistake. A fry. Oh, sure. Thank you kindly. The press-on nails didn't help, but I felt a little freaked out watching her pluck exactly one fry out of the box with her long fingers. It kind of looked like one of those nature shows where an eagle pulls the guts out of a fish or something. She ate it very carefully. I guess she had to. Her lipstick was pretty intense, and there wasn't a crumb or spot of grease or anything on her expensive-looking outfit. I do quite like those. Terrible for me, of course, but what isn't, eh? It's what I can afford. Flights ain't cheap, turns out. Too right. She sucked her finger and thumb clean and dried them on one of my napkins. Well then, safe travels. Yeah, sure. Thanks. She smiled at me and slid off her bar stool with a clack. I realized she was wearing expensive heels, too expensive for anyone I've ever seen eating shit food at LAX. I could hear every footstep across the tile floor as she left. I finished my burger and stuffed all the crap in the paper bag to throw away. As I got off the seat, I realized that woman's handbag was still on the counter. Oh, fuck. I didn't really feel like running errands, but if we were going to be on the same flight... I took the bag and got going toward the gate. I must have spent way too long eating that shitty burger, because when I finally got to the gate, they were already boarding. Technically, I think I was supposed to get on the plane first. Oh well. I guess I can't do that if I ain't there. Just so you know, ma'am, you can only put one bag under the seat. Yeah, I got it. I almost said that the handbag wasn't mine, but I realized that was probably not the best thing to tell someone right before getting on a plane. Have you ever been on a plane? It was my first time. It feels weird on planes. As soon as you step in, it feels like the air is constantly being sucked away from you. Which, I guess it kind of is. That's how the, you know, the air conditioning or whatever works. It's like you're yawning even when you're not yawning. Or like you've got earplugs in even though you don't. It feels like dog shit, that's for sure. I was looking around for the woman I had met at the fast food place, but I couldn't see her anywhere. Everyone was standing in the aisles, putting their bags away, taking their jackets and sweaters off, etc., etc. It was going to be impossible to find her. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to make some room. Do you need help finding your seat? Huh? Oh, no, sorry about that. Well, shit. I wasn't far from my seat, but I was real nervous about keeping this lady's bag with me. What if I got all the way to a foreign country with someone else's shit? What if she had been wrong about what flight she was on? Would that be an international crime? The last thing I needed was Interpol coming after my ass over some rich lady's handbag. I sat down in my window seat and tried to stay calm. I figured I could at least wait until we were in the air and I could walk around to make sure she wasn't on the flight before panicking too hard. Now, here's a coincidence. Oh, thank God. Hey! You left your bag on the table earlier. She put her hands over her chest and opened her mouth like a fish. Oh my God, thank you. It would have been proper devote if I had left it behind. She sat down next to me and I handed her the bag. She started reaching around inside it, I guess to check if anything had gotten lost. Phew, all there. She then pulled out a fat wad of bills and a money clip. Let's see. Oh, no, you don't gotta... She licked her thumb, peeled off a small stack of bills, and handed them to me. Don't be silly. This is $250! Pounds, love. But, yeah. Little pocket money for your trip, yeah? Well, thanks. Not at all, for bringing me the bag. I knew you were alright when I first saw you. Weird. What coincidence we're in the same row, eh? Well, I guess so. I wanted something in the smoking section. Ooh, me as well. I take it you don't mind, then? Nah, go for it. She reached back into her bag and pulled out the most ridiculous pack of cigs I had ever seen. The whole box was gold. Her lighter was almost a perfect match. The hell are those? Do you know cut these here? Maybe, but I've never seen them. She held the box out to me and shook it so exactly one cig stuck out. Don't know how long she had practiced that one, but it was impressive. Have you seen any of the adverts for these? No. Oh, they're very chic. Go on then, try it. I'd be curious to know what you think. What's your huge? I usually smoke whatever low tars I can get my hands on. Gotcha. Not a big brand follower? Nah. Me either, typically. Some people like to pit them against each other, but I'll try anything as long as I like the look. It must be nice. She held her ridiculous lighter out to me. The cig she had given me. I don't know if I'd call it good, but it sure tasted more expensive than my usual. Like watches. Do you know anything about watches? I know they're for telling time. I held up my wrist to show her my cheap digital watch. She exhaled smoke, but she didn't respond. Sort of. I mean, they are, but they aren't. You know what I mean? They're jewelry, really. You should get a nicer one. Oh, they're way too expensive. My dad has one from some spy movie he liked as a kid. I asked how much it cost one time, and I was so mad when he told me. Oh, what does he know? That'll be nice. That'll be a proper automatic. Digitals are so much cheaper. I'm a bit biased, I suppose. She held up her arm and pulled up her sweater sleeve to reveal her own watch. It was bright gold, although the dial was a shocking pink that I wouldn't have associated with the luxury brand name inlaid in gold. Holy shit. How much was that? I don't know, actually. Got this one instead of cash for some work I did a while back. Okay, I gotta ask. What did you do? Suppose I'd call myself a flaneur, if anything. A passante, if we're being grammatically correct. So you're professionally French? She laughed. She leaned back in her seat and flicked up the little ashtray in the armrest so she could ash her cigarette. Technically, I'm in publishing. A bit of a location scout, I think is the best way to describe it. I take special assignments. I travel a lot. I enjoy people watching. I had no idea publishers could afford that kind of lifestyle. There's loads of people out there buying books to not read, love. I laughed. Fair enough. So what have you actually read? I'd be curious to know if you've seen any of mine. I've skimmed Capital. Haven't we all? I like Chomsky. Any fiction? I don't have any time for fiction. Oh, that stings. If I'm reading something, I want it to matter. I can do other stuff for fun, I guess. She nodded thoughtfully. The captain came over the loudspeaker and announced something. It was impossible to tell what exactly, thanks to the shitty mic. Plus, books are expensive. Try video games, sister. I've got to pick stuff up that counts. I feel like I know how every story is going to go the second I read the first sentence. She pointed at me with her cigarette approvingly. We're not so different, then. I just come down on the other end, I suppose. But I get it. Who needs a book to tell you what you already know? That's why I prefer fiction myself. Maybe you just need to read different kinds of fiction. I never know what I'm gonna get. So, what kind of books do you publish anyway? I'm not the publisher, I'm just in publishing. So you're the heiress to a publishing company or something? She gave me a wicked grin. Like I said, I'd call myself a flaneur. A passante, if we're being grammatically correct. It was around this point that the plane's engine started up. We put our cigarettes out and adjusted our seats to get ready for takeoff. You ever been on a plane before? First time. Don't let the bumpiness get to you.